Is the Modi government on a renaming spree? Now, since it took over, the central government has changed the nomenclature of roads, universities, awards, institutions, among others. Today, another institution's name was changed. The Nehru Memorial Museum and Library is now renamed as the Prime Minister's Museum and Library Society. Now, this decision was not taken overnight. Prime Minister Modi mooted the idea of setting up a museum dedicated to all Prime Ministers of India back in 2016. Last year, the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya was inaugurated at the historic Teen Murti complex where the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library is housed. And today, in a special meeting, the Nehru Memorial Museum Society approved the new name. That has now raised hackles of the Congress. To quote Shakespeare, what's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Clearly, that doesn't seem to be applicable in this case, at least as far as the Congress goes. Now, before we get into the fireworks, let me tell you the rationale of the central government and the behind the renaming of the NNML Society. One of the biggest reasons is that this highlights the contribution of every Prime Minister in nation building. So why not talk about each Prime Minister? The Sangrahalaya depicts the collective journey of democracy in independent India, which is why the name has been changed. The government also then goes on to say that the museum is completely updated with technologically advanced displays on life and contribution of Jawaharlal Nehru, rebutting the allegation that the Congress makes that they're trying to erase the contribution of India's first Prime Minister. Another reason why the name has been changed is because it narrates the story of how our Prime Ministers navigated through the nation various challenges and ensured all-round progress of the country. It wasn't just one or two Prime Ministers or three or four. It was all 13 Prime Ministers that have to be celebrated. Museum expresses the nation's deep commitment to democracy. That's another reason why this name has been changed. The government also says that it exhibits the contributions of all Prime Ministers from Nehru to Narendra Modi. The museum is a respect to all previous Prime Ministers and is democratic in its content. That's what the rationale is coming to the fore after this particular panel that overlooks the ongoings of this particular museum and library have now come out and said, remember, this comes under the Culture Ministry of the central government. Now, the Congress is not ready to buy that argument. It's petty. It reeks of vengeance is what they say. There are several allegations that have been made by the Congress party, both on social media and otherwise. They say that, in fact, Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge has said that this move shows the low mentality and dictatorial attitude of the BJP and the RSS. Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh slammed this bid to distort, disparage and destroy the name and legacy of the architect of the Indian nation state. He then went on to say that a small man is overburdened by his insecurities and has styled himself as Vishwaguru, taking a dig at Prime Minister Modi. Congress Member of Parliament Manish Tiwari said legacies don't get erased just by renaming buildings. Congress MP Karti Chidambaram said that focus must be on creating new institutions and not on renaming established ones. So those are the kind of reactions that came to the fore from the Congress party. Now, there's reason for the grand old party to make those claims because the first family's name has been taken off multiple spheres. Earlier, the Rajiv Gandhi Khel Ratna Award was what it was named. Now it's called the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award. It was renamed after the Modi government came to power. Indira Awas Yojana was what the earlier name was. Now it's called the Pradhan Mantri Gramin Awas Yojana. Earlier, there was the Rajiv Gandhi Centre for Biotechnology that has now been renamed to Madhav Sadashiv Golwalkar National Centre. Earlier, there was a scheme that was called the Rajiv Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. That was on the electricity scheme. That has now been renamed to Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana. The Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission was rechristened. It is now called the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation. So the Congress has reasons to believe that the first family is at a disadvantage. The Modi government is trying to erase history, to twist history. The government, the BJP, denies all those claims.
कांग्रेस के कितने नेताओं ने जाकर नेहरू मेमोरियल देखा है? मतलब जिसे आम बोलचाल की भाषा में कहते हैं ना कि धूल फांक रहे थे। यानी डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी के द्वारा उनके उस पूरे स्वरूप को व्यवस्थित रूप में रखने का कार्य किया है। क्या किसी ने जाके देखा?
By doing all those things, you are again showing that you are here and Panditji is there. When you say that before 2014 there was nothing in India, you are disrespecting your own leader, Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, member of the Prime Minister's Museum and Library Society, now joins us on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. Let me begin by asking you, you're a part of the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library Society, now rechristened, of course. If you can shed some light on the rationale behind the renaming, was there complete consensus among the entire committee about this name change?
Well, it was a very unanimous decision. There was complete consensus amongst the members of the executive committee of the what was known as Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, which has now been renamed as Prime Minister's Museum, Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, which is a part of it, and it has been named as Pradhan Mantri Museum and Memorial Library. The rationale being, see, earlier we had a Nehru Memorial Museum and Library over there. Later on, in a very democratic manner, the government decided that why should we only be having some kind of a memorial for just one Prime Minister? I mean, we know that there are memorials or kind of small museums set up for Srimati Indira Gandhi and Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri as well. But we don't have any commemorative kind of a structure created for, let's say, P.V. Narasimha Rao or even Rajiv Gandhi or for that matter Chandrasekhar or Vishwanath Pratap Singh or Atal Bihari Vajpayee. And all of them were our very respected Prime Ministers. So we need not be unnecessarily discriminating between all our prime ministers. The nation will have to be unanimously grateful towards all.
Sure.
And therefore, we created a Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, a Prime Minister's Museum, which is a state-of-the-art museum where you find digital technology and traditional museum or museology science combined together. So naturally, when the museum is no more Nehru Memorial Museum, it is a Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya, Prime Minister's Museum. So naturally, the name also requires to be changed. And therefore, as per the Society Registration Act, we decided to change it. It is perfectly legal, perfectly unanimous, and in a very democratic manner, which in a way also is the symbol of our spirit of accommodation.
So, Mr. Sahasrabuddhe, what you're essentially trying to say is that as opposed to the claim that the Congress is making that this reeks of exclusivity, you're trying to push out the first Prime Minister of the country, you are saying that this in fact is all about inclusivity.
Perfect, perfect. And where have we changed? We still have Jawaharlal Nehru University and we continue to respect such institutions. We still have Indira Gandhi International Airport. And we don't want to, we have not changed it. So I believe there is absolutely no question of changing the names in a wholesale manner. We are not on a name changing spree as such. But then an institution which has now been converted, it has graduated from one single Prime Minister's Museum to the Museum of all Prime Ministers. So this is our very democratic, inclusive and accommodative approach, which is now reflected in the name of the institution as well, which is pretty logical and something which everybody would understand.
But you say everybody would understand, sir, but the Congress is clearly not getting the point of it. They think that this is petty and vengeful, that the government is trying to erase the legacy of India's first Prime Minister altogether.
Well, if you are referring to the comments coming from Twitter on by our friend Jairam Ramesh, I think he is unnecessarily reading between the lines. He should read the lines. There is nothing, something conspirational about it. The character of the institution has changed. Would you say that it is illogical to reflect that change in the name of the institution itself? It is perfectly logical, and insofar as the allegation of vengefulness is concerned, I would request Mr. Jairam Ramesh and all others to visit the new Jawaharlal Nehru gallery in the Pradhan Mantri Sangrahalaya. We have presented Jawaharlal Nehru's contribution in our country in a much more better way than what it was earlier.
Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, you say that now the Congress should go and visit and perhaps look at this gallery that is a tribute to the first Prime Minister of the country. But many also say that the Congress has never really looked at this particular museum. It may be a legacy of the Nehru Gandhi family, but the Congress really hasn't done much as far as the upkeep and maintenance is concerned.
Certainly, and therefore it was an institution nobody paid any attention to. Today, the Prime Minister, our Honorable Defence Minister, Finance Minister, everybody attends the meeting. Yesterday's meeting was chaired by Defence Minister and the Finance Minister was also present. So we attach great importance to such new institutions or reincarnated institutions, and therefore it is perfectly logical to reflect the change in the character into the change in the name.
Sure, but it's also the personal connect that this particular building has with Jawaharlal Nehru, which also seems to be the issue, that the Teen Murti house used to be Jawaharlal Nehru's official residence and hence the name stuck. That's why also the objection in renaming it.
The moment Prime Minister Nehru and his next generations donated it and it became a national property, naturally it was very logical and in the fitness of the things that we converted it and broad-based it. And therefore it is no more a property of a family. The family donated that property to the nation, and the nation in its collective wisdom decided to utilize it as a museum for all the prime ministers. So I don't think one should be so very touchy and needlessly sensitive on such issues. It is no question of a personal property. It is the nation's treasure. It is the national property.
It's not a personal affront. There is needless controversy over it, says Vinay Sahasrabuddhe. So thank you so much for speaking with us.